Good morning. Welcome to Let's Talk. My name is Philip Jones.
And I'm Tafaro Cook, two-time kidney transplant recipient, founder of Kidney Care Coaches, where we coach stage 3 to stage 5 kidney disease patients. If you or you know someone who has kidney challenges with their kidney disease, hit us up at kidneycarecoaches.com.
So today we have a little bit different subject we want to touch on today that we usually touch on, not just on Let's Talk, but on the Second Chance channel in general, which is normally transplant stuff. But I try to get people to understand that the Second Chance is more than just the transplant side of things. The Second Chance can be met in a multiple different ways. Um, so with this story here, it's a young man. His mom started a campaign for him to get his tumor removed that is in his face. And the reason why I'm showing this is because I want people to understand, especially transplant people. We hear when we talk to each other about stories about asking, why me, why me, why me. But then what I want you guys to understand is that it could be 50 times worse than what you think you're going through. We get to walk around and mask our issues. We don't have to tell people that we're dealing with kidney failure or liver failure or whatever the case may be, unless we have to walk around with a catheter or something like that. Where it's being shown, that's how we have to, whatever the case may be. So it's a lot different when you have to be in a situation like this young man does, especially as a kid. We all know when we kids, that's when we're the meanest. We will crack a joke on any and everything possible that we see, without even thinking about the consequences and repercussions of what we are just saying. So, I want to show you this because I want you to kind of understand that we go through a lot of bad things as transplant patients, as cancer survivors, or any of these number of illnesses that we deal with. But there are some people out there that just deal with some things much worse than what we deal with. So Mr. Cook, go ahead and play, please.
Okay. Hold on.
He's normal, just like any other little boy. Sorry. I know the last time I took him to a park, there were some kids that told him he looked like a monster. And he hadn't been back to that park ever since. So I had to tell him that I had to tell him that he's not a monster. He's just been through a lot. He goes through a lot. Hey, Amari. Hey, doing okay?
Yeah.
Okay, you ready for some lunch?
Yeah.
I actually knew when I was pregnant with him that it was like a 50-50 chance that he would come out with his genetic condition. Come on, little bud. Amari has a condition called NF type 1, which is incurable, and which causes tumors and throughout his skeletal and nervous system. So it just caused a lot of problems throughout his body, which the growths can come up anywhere on his body. Amari has one of the worst cases that you can get. So he was taking chemo medicine for a while and it seemed to help a little bit, but he's not been on it for a year or so just to see how the tumors act. Put it on there. So this year we probably have to start him back on some kind of chemo medicine because it looks like they're starting to grow back or grow a little more and faster. It's a lot, it really is. As he got older, it got more noticeable because the tumors grew. I'm trying not to get emotional. It was hard. It was very hard when I found out. Okay, it'll be done in just a minute. Morris, he's like any other young boy his age. It just he has limitations of things that he can and can't do. His vision is very, very limited. He only can see out the right eye, which is kind of covered up his right eye as well because of the tumors. So it makes it hard for him to do certain things. Like he loves football, but he really can't get out there and play like everybody else because of his tumors. He really doesn't act like he have a genetic condition or anything because I look at him as a normal child. 2017, Amari got to meet the Harlem Globetrotters in Huntsville, Alabama, and he got a autographed jersey and a basketball as well. But he had a great time that day. He really did. He smiled the whole way there and all the way home. I was overjoyed because he still talks about it to this day. I have to pull the tape up, okay? So you can eat. We're getting ready for EJ and Louis, Amari's cousin, to come over. When they come over, we're gonna probably go to the park somewhere and let them just have some fun together and spend some time together at the park. Hey, babies. Hey, my loves. Look at that. Now pray that something can be done. It's hard. It really is. You know what jacket you gonna wear? Amari, he mostly plays with his two cousins. So he really doesn't really get out a whole lot.
We just like to have fun with our family and our cousin of ours. I know he has a genetic condition. I like hanging out with just the same. I like hanging out just the way he is. I doesn't seem any different.
I know the last time I took him to a park, there were some kids that told him he looked like a monster. So, and he hasn't been back to that park ever since. So I had to tell him that sorry. I had to tell him that he's not a monster. Main focus is Amari and giving him a better quality of life, because I don't want to have to focus on trying to figure out how I'm gonna get this and that paid. I made this GoFundMe in order to just help provide, because we have a lot of doctor's appointments that we have to go back and forth to. He inspired me in so many ways. He's enthusiastic about everything. He doesn't let anything get him down, really. I just only can hope that they find something that can really, really help him tremendously down the line. That can maybe even take all the tumors away. That would be a blessing right there.
Wow. Well, I was just gonna say, some of the things we think we're going through, and I'm not trying to compare because everybody has their own challenges, and this is this young man's challenge, and the family's challenge, and some are worse than others, but you still have to be thankful, and it's easier said than done to be thankful, especially with a condition like that. And Phil, you're absolutely right. When I was going through dialysis, I had a catheter sticking up out of my, my neck and stuff, where they were doing another treatment, type of treatment they were doing. And I didn't want to go anywhere because of that. My friends pulled me out the house. They were like, "Come on, man, you got to go," because they were doing another treatment, and this catheter was sticking out my neck, and I couldn't hide it. So, but I went. People were looking at me and stuff, but there's nowhere comparison to what this young kid is going through. I was 20 something years old at the time. This kid is 12 and 13 years old. But it makes you really, really appreciate just where you are in the present moment. Because sometimes we think what we're going through is the worst stuff ever, but this really humbles you, man. It pulls at your heartstrings to the fullest. I had to prepare myself for not getting emotional about that, man. Wow.
Yeah, it's like you said, it's two different ways of being able to deal with them. And you gotta, coming up as a kid with this, versus coming up as an adult. And that goes with any sickness, any illness that we deal with in the world. You deal with these things a lot differently in those two different age settings. Like for me, I know when I was younger, we like you and myself, we had to deal with this in a different age group. So like you said, you was 18, 20, started off with your kidney disease. I started off at 4, so for me, I was able to have that chance to adapt over time into my life and what it could be and what it should be, and to make the changes I needed to throughout school, go to school, do what I needed to do, get my education and stuff like that. When it's a lot different when you're 18, 20 years old, and luckily you were already in school. You had that mindset of education and work ethic and stuff like that. Imagine if that happened to somebody that don't have those teachings in their life. They got a completely different way of having to live now. Like they're dealing with this health issue. It's not going to be the easiest thing to find a job or anything like that. I mean, and again, you gotta when you deal with stuff like we can mask our issues, right? You don't have to walk around with a sign on your back or nothing like that that says, "Hey, I'm dealing with kidney failure. I'm dealing with liver failure," or whatever. That young man has to walk around with his tumor on his face until he possibly gets it fixed. And
one thing I could definitely say though is, when you're a kid going through stuff like that, because I had a friend that had well, he was a friend. We knew each other and everything, and he had that same kind of stuff. They used to, we'll call him, crazy names and stuff like that. And I told my dad about when I was young, and my dad explained to me, what was going on. So he was, my dad, he was that type of father figure who could explain stuff to you and make you realize that, how blessed, how thankful you are, and this is just a condition. But one thing I can say about kids like that, and when they get it young, is they're so humble and so happy that they just act like normal kids, like they don't even see anything wrong with them. I had a buddy that had cerebral palsy, and he is my true friend to this day. And I met him when I was 5 years old. He's still my boy, and he walked funny, but I never looked at him different because we just kicked it all the time. He fight, we do whatever, or spend over each other's house, do whatever.
right.
And he was just a normal dude. To somebody from the outside looked at him, they would look at him and go, "Oh, why he walked like that?" But the point I'm making is he was resilient, and I'm pretty sure that Amar is a resilient kid. Like sometimes these kids, when they having fun doing their thing, they're not even noticing other people. They just be into what they're doing and stuff like that. So, and I'm not making it easier or saying it's easy, but I'm just saying these kids are strong when they go through things like
And,
that.
my head goes off to his mom. Uh, for being as strong as she is, and try to keep him in a good place mentally with who he is as a person, and how to get through life, even dealing with the situation that he has to deal with every day. she's still there, still has his back 100%. It's kind of how am I gonna put this? Um, she wants him to kind of understand that sometimes things just happen, but there's nothing wrong with you.
You know one thing I
Yeah.
like? I like what Bella said too about his cousins. His cousins is over there playing with him, kicking with him, and stuff like that. And one thing I will say, when you grow up with, a good friend or a family member that had some challenges like that, you begin to be a more of a humble, and you empathize. You become a natural person that empathizes for people because you see what somebody else had to go through, and you have a close relationship with that person, and you also understand that he's just a kid just like me. He just got a little different, he got a different situation, but he's just a kid just like me. He like football. We talk about the games, we talk about what's on TV. We played, whatever, they might talk about girls, whatever. But he's just a kid just like you, just has a different challenges. That's what you do see when you're young. That's what I experienced with a couple of my friends having, different challenges and stuff like that. And you don't even look at them no different. You just look at them as your boy. You clown with them in the same way and everything. So, but you're right. I hands off to the mom, hands off to everybody on this, man. But I hope they can find a cure for it.
Yeah, I don't want to say feel bad because that makes it
Nah, I ain't
seem
never
like
feeling
it's
bad. No.
just uh I mean, but like you said, sympathize with these. I mean, because we don't go through necessarily what they have to deal with the physical part to this, but we go through the part we got to walk around every day, knowing that we pray that we don't never have to deal with the kidney failure part to it or organ failure period. Once you have a transplant and stuff like that, and you just you want to keep living life, so you hope you never get back in that position. But again, for him to have to walk around and basically, I don't want to say convince because it makes it seem like it's not true. But I think when we go through things like this, we do kind of have to convince ourselves there's nothing wrong with us. We normal just like everybody else. Might have a slight twitch, with what's going on with our life, but everything's the same. And I feel like him as a person, what's going on, Mr. Williams? Appreciate you joining us. Um, you know, he can do the same thing that most everybody else does in the world. He may not be able to go out there and play tackle football or anything like that. These physical sports or stuff like that. But he can still go out, go to the mall, things like that. But it also takes like you said, people like that have had friends like that understand ain't nothing wrong with that person. They just dealing with some minor issues or whatever the case may be, and keep it on
You
pushing and let
start
them
looking
keep
at
it
them
on.
as again, you start looking at the person as a human. From the outside, you might have some kids saying, he look like a monster, this, and that. You look
Right,
at that person as just who he is, a human being trying to do the best with what he got. You know what I'm saying? That it's a different situation when you're you see like my boy, man. I've seen him every day. He lived a couple houses down the street from me. I mean, down the street. So we walked together to school. We did it all, and so he just became it was just a normal dude. You
right,
know, I'm gonna keep it real though. If somebody else talked about him, it wasn't happening. We wasn't letting that wasn't right. Especially if you went from our hood. I'm just keeping it 100. That wasn't happening.
right,
But any of us, we could talk about it because he was our brother.
right.
That's how it
That
rolled.
was a
That's
homie,
how
right,
yeah, that's the homie. But anybody
right,
else from the outside, you say something, nah, dog, you about to get rolled up. It ain't going down like that. And that was our boy. But like again though, he talked about girls, he talked about football. He did the same stuff we did. He just had a little different challenge going on.
right.
And that's just how I look at it. And I believe his cousins and stuff look at him the same way like that too.
Yeah, man. But and that goes back to a lot to something I touch on a lot. That's just great parenting. on this young man's part, on your father and mother's part, that's just good parenting and teaching your child how to go the right way about living life, how to be a child and be able to. Just because you're a child doesn't mean that you can't be effective in someone's life. And I believe that because there's a lot of people that I've known in time that didn't even know that I had kidney disease that played a vital part in me, growing up as a kid, and things like that. So, any of you parents out there, man, teach your kids early to see people for who they are on the inside, not necessarily the outside, because you never know what blessings you turn away from yourself or that person. You may be that person that particular person needs to have in their life, whether it's just a friend, somebody to talk to, whatever the case may be. So, the point to this was to reevaluate how your life is. Don't automatically feel so sorry for yourself. We have to learn how to keep pushing and keep thriving to get through what we deal with. A lot of we deal with dialysis, in center or home dialysis, or we deal with, breathing problems. If you have cystic fibrosis or, dealing with, having to have a LVAD and you stuck in a hospital, things that nature like that. But please understand that it can be so much worse than that. So much worse than that. So be grateful for what you do have. Be grateful for what's coming to you. And you'll see you start to adjust to things a lot easier. So again, thanks for joining us on Let's Talk. We'll be back tomorrow morning. Around the same time. We try to do it. If nothing else, we try to make sure we do stay between 10 and 11 o'clock Pacific time. If nothing else, sometimes we're a little off at 10 o'clock, but we still try to keep it in that same time frame. So hope to see you back here in the morning and after this, and then also on the weekend. So have a great one, and we'll see you tomorrow.